ICCIA Leadership Talks. It is an online platform that was created for 57 member countries of the OIC and concerned stakeholders to be able to network, communicate, and share information about key topics that are necessary for the development of these countries. So coming back to our topic of today, which is women entrepreneurship in the OIC countries, it is clear that across the world today, the trend of female entrepreneurship is growing, and it has been proven beyond any reasonable doubt that the female entrepreneurship has positive impact both on the families, the communities, the nation, and even the globe as a whole. But yet, statistics show that within the OIC bloc, the female entrepreneurship environment is very challenging, and women are able to actually harness the available potentials of this phenomena. So, and this underutilization of these female potentials, it has negative setback on our national economics and even the global economy. And today we have 6 experts and speakers who will who will assess the environment, the entrepreneurial environment within the OIC bloc. They will discuss issues pertaining to the potentials, to the challenges, and also they will share a wide range of experiences or success stories around around women entrepreneurship. So now permit me to introduce our 6 speakers, who are, we have Her Excellency Ms. Shinta Wijaja Kamdani. She is the chair of the B20 Indonesia and also deputy chairperson of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the CEO of the Sintesa Group. And she received several awards, among others from the Forbes Asia 50 Powerful Business Women in 2012, 2013, and even 2016. She was also chosen by the United Nations as one of the 30 global corporate leaders to join the Global Investors for Sustainable Development Alliance. She was one of the 30th best CEOs by Business Indonesia Award in 2015. And she was also awarded a Woman Entrepreneur of the Year at the Asia Corporate Excellence and Sustainability Awards. She has so much, on her back, but I will just end here. And our second speaker is Madam Councillor Fatima Azara Abdelkawi. She is the Director of Program Policy and Intergovernmental Support at the Women's Development Organization, WTO. And prior to now, she served in the Egyptian mission in New York, where she served, and also she served as the Vice Chair for the Commission on the Status of Women, CSW. And she also, during her service there, she facilitated the agreed conclusion of the CSW 61st session. And these conclusions were all about women's economic empowerment in the changing world of work. And we have the third speaker is Her Excellency Ms. Nicole Amelin. She is an international expert in women's rights, and she has ministerial, parliamentary experience, as well as international experience. She was a 3 times minister in the Minister of Parity and Equality in France, Minister of Maritime Affairs, and the Minister of Decentralization. She has also served as the ambassador at large on globalization and social issues. She was also the ambassador and French representative at the International Labour Organization of the ILO. And she is also a member of the French Human Rights Committee from 2009 to 2017. And our third speaker is Mr. Armand Khoshmannov. He is the principal, of the Industry and Business Environment IBES program in Global Markets and Equities Department. And he worked over 15 years in Kazakhstan in private and public financial sectors, MDBs, and national development institutions. So, and our fifth speaker will be Dr. Noura Abdel Wahab. She is the lead gender advisor Middle East and North Africa Regional Innovation Hub. She is leading the integration of gender at the MENA Regional Innovation Hub operations, and she is also experienced. She is also an experienced regional gender consultant with more than 20 years of experience in conducting gender and market assessments in the MENA region. And our last speaker will be Ms. Rania Aiman. She is the founder and CEO of Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a mission-driven enterprise that strives to bridge the gender gap economically by educating, training, and linking women to all economic resources, and her enterprise has impacted more than 50,000 women in Egypt. She has also been chosen to represent Egypt in many international conferences worldwide, and she was even awarded the Empowering Youth Champion and Best Female Entrepreneur by the YE. She was also featured as one of the most active influential 25 under 25 entrepreneurs by Startup Scene in Egypt. So that is a summary of the experts who are going for our discussions today. And I will not waste any time. I think I will give the floor to the first speaker, who will dwell with Her Excellency Ms. Shinta Wijaja. You now have the floor, and you will talk on the first question about the role of B20 Indonesia in supporting and promoting gender diversity in business and economic empowerment of women worldwide. Thank you. You have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to also thank ICCIA for the opportunity to share my perspective today, and also to share about B20. We are hosting B20 this year. Indonesia hold the presidency of G20. So let me start by sharing first of what is B20 and what is really our agenda in terms of women empowerment this year. So first of all, just to understand what is B20, B20 or Business 20 is the most significant engagement group of the G20, consisting of business leaders represented, we are providing a valuable platform for business leaders to convene and to generate actionable policy recommendation to assist G20. And this year, B20 theme is advancing innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth, which fits well with the overall G20 theme, which is recover together, recover stronger. And with our leadership, the B20 Indonesia presidency will amplify the role of women in the economy through the establishment of what we call the Women in Business Action Council. So on the right side, you'll see all the task forces. We have 6 task forces and 1 action council. And the B20 also aims to recommend policy that will ignite benefit for the broader global ecosystem. Efforts to overcome the pandemic and foster sustainable balance and inclusive recovery. The B20 will also underscore the need to stimulate cross-border across the G20 members, knowledge sharing and investment into women-led businesses, while being very mindful on the diverse set of economies and population across the G20 countries. The strategic priorities aim to drive collaborative, innovative, and inclusive sustainable growth. We also include strengthening the resilience of women-led businesses and accelerating supporting infrastructure of women entrepreneurs and MSME, building the digital capability of the female workforce, strengthening the foundation of equitable workforce participation and leadership, and also eradicating gender-based violence in the workplace. If you see the next slide, I think economics speaks volume to enhance workforce equality. There are $1 trillion of opportunities to tap by accelerating progress towards gender parity. And globally, we could add 2.8 trillion US dollar a year to annual GDP by 2025, 26% above business as usual. And further, analysis suggests that if women and men participated equally as entrepreneurs, global GDP could rise by approximately 3 to 6%, boosting the global economy by $2.5 trillion to $5 trillion. So the global Internet of Things market was estimated $308.9 billion in 2020 and is predicted to grow at a CAGR of approximately 25% between 2021 to 2031. This offers, I think, enormous opportunities for inclusive and equitable labor market participation. For this to be fully realized, women and girls need to be equally engaged as digital citizens. If gender violence also could be terminated, we could gain another $1.5 trillion US dollar, approximately 2% of the global GDP. That is the cost of global violence channel into gender empowerment causes. One initiative of note is also we would like to see that in order for the $28 trillion GDP growth through equal participation of women to be realized, a strong ecosystem of the various supporting factors need to be created. And this really requires all elements to work in synergy, be connected and collaborative. Many organizations, government, businesses, and civil society groups have implemented substantive initiatives to support female entrepreneurs and women in work, but many remain disconnected and operate independently. I think a central partnership element of the Women in Business Action Council, WIBAC, is the proposal to also what we could develop the One Global Women Empowerment Platform, and with a vision to empower every woman-led business in the global economy. So besides the policy recommendation that we will submit to our government, this is a concrete outcome that will be a legacy project for Indonesia presidency that we want to bring forward. And One Global Women Empowerment is a global, formal global network that has a vision to empower every woman-led business in the global economy. I think the goal is to establish a permanent body supported by a secretariat and technology that will connect relevant stakeholders and provide for a real-time best practices to accelerate the impactful inclusion of women and women-led businesses in the global economy. The network will also act as the bridge between G20 and B20 presidency outcomes, ensuring continuation of efforts from Indonesia to India to Brazil and beyond. There are 5 C that the OGW will. First, we call the crowdsource for various stakeholders to share and promote their idea and successful programs and exploring collaboration to scale up across market and geographies. The second is crowdfund, allowing the like-minded funders or investors to support the program of their choice by matching funders or investors with program owners. It could also be channeled for women entrepreneurs to reach out to investors to help scaling up their business. The third is to curate, one-stop shop for training programs and guides for leadership and skill development for women, provided by international actors such as UN Women, ILO, etc. Fourth is to clarify, to help women entrepreneurs navigate effectively the plethora of applicable local laws, regulation, and support program as they grow their businesses across borders. And lastly, communicate to inform stakeholders on the public on the OIC initiative and achievement. Of course, this idea is very bold and ambitious, but I think B20 WIBAC has an opportunity to help realize this 28 trillion US dollar growth in the global economy, something concrete, something actionable, through empower women-led business, but improve also the livelihood of women, men, children, and society in general. Thank you.
Ms. Rabiatu, I think that the microphone is closed. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying thank you to Her Excellency for this wonderful presentation on this very ambitious program of B20, and the fact that if we progress towards gender parity, we can actually accelerate global economic growth and also the well-being of every other citizen of the world, including the women. So thank you. We will still come back to Your Excellency, I think, in the second question, but as of now, I will give the floor to Councillor Fatima, who will talk to us about WDO's current initiatives and projects concerned with women entrepreneurship in OIC countries. Thank you, Madam Councillor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rabiatu, and thank you, Ms. Shinta, for this very important presentation, and we hope that we can have a copy of it. As you all know, colleagues, that entrepreneurship is a multidimensional phenomenon with the potential to foster sustainable development and also to improve women's socio-economic status. And the term mainly refers to the process of creating economic and social value in the presence of uncertainty and limited resources. And I'm just stressing here on the issue of uncertainty and the limited resources, specifically with the current situation which we are in with the pandemic. Entrepreneurship is the backbone also of the economic development of every nation, as it opens new job avenues. Economic growth of the nations would be lopsided without the involvement of women in entrepreneurial activities, who constitute approximately half of the population, specifically when it comes to developing countries. Women entrepreneurs play a pivotal role in increasing their own economic welfare and in growing and improving the economic and social fabric of societies through job creation, innovative products, processes, family well-being, and services. However, colleagues, the realization of female entrepreneurial intentions in OIC countries is hampered by challenges, and we found out about this from our consultations with our member states, and that such as these challenges were low human capital development, such as education and skills, high informal sectoral concentration, limited access to finance, ineffective infrastructure, policy and legal issues, as well as cultural and structural barriers. WDO, as you all know, colleagues, is the center of gender architecture in the OIC system. One of its mandates is to support member states in their efforts to achieve women's economic empowerment and entrepreneurship, and this will be a key focus and one of its pillars in its first programmatic cycle. As I said, one of the programmatic priorities of WDO is to anchor in an economic empowerment and financial inclusion pillar. Since female entrepreneurship doesn't exist in a vacuum, but rather linked to different societal aspects, such as education, economic participation, health, and agency, WDO's Women Economic Empowerment Pillar will be designed to target a set of priorities and interventions to close the gaps in the areas of education, legal reforms, health and access to labor market, financial institutions, personal capacity development, leadership, and decision-making, advocacy and awareness raising on socio-cultural barriers, and specific projects on women's empowerment. As you know, the overall and goal impact of that pillar, colleagues, is to increase the GDP of WTO member states through an increase in women's participation in the workforce and financial inclusion, reduced women unemployment rates, and an increase in the incomes of women and their economic viability and independence. The main specific objectives of that pillar were to have more women in employment, and we determined a target date of 2024. More women entrepreneurs and business owners in the formal sector by 2024, more women in senior positions in the public sector in at least 5 WTO member states, and more women in senior positions in the private sector in at least 5 WTO member states. In our plan of action, which will implement that programmatic cycle, it will work with, WTO will work with its member states, private sector companies, civil society organizations, and other strategic partners in order to address legal, institutional, and social discrimination and hindrance to women's economic participation and we will emphasize on women's financial inclusion because our member states, they really need that. And that will offer them equal opportunities. It will offer women equal opportunities to reach their full entrepreneurial potential. We will also try to create policy dialogue platforms with public and private sector in view of increasing the share of trade and procurement from women through improving access to financing and investment opportunities, tools of trade, business development, and training for women's enterprises, including micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, cooperatives, and self-help groups. We will also advocate for and provide women with quality education and training on skills, capacity building programs, social protection systems, friendly and enabling family and workplace environments, financial and other advanced services that will boost female employment and entrepreneurship, as well as have a substantive impact on the reality of all women and girls. We will also encourage investment and research in sustainable technology because, you know, ICT is super important for women's engagement in the economy, and particularly to strengthen the capacities of WTO countries so as to enable women to leverage science and technology for entrepreneurship and economic empowerment. We will also finally create expertise, knowledge sharing platforms where female entrepreneurs can discuss key entrepreneurial practices, success challenges, and devise way forward for better inclusion of women in our member countries. And this is why we are really honored to be part of this series of workshops and trainings with ICCIA in order to achieve that objective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Fatima, for highlighting to the panel about the women's economic empowerment and financial inclusion pillar of the WTO, which is somehow also in line with what the previous speaker said, that entrepreneurship has a nexus with so many other women empowerment aspects like education, health, which are necessary to be able to achieve full entrepreneurship for women. So thank you very much. I will give the floor now to Her Excellency, Ms. Nicole Amelie, to talk to us about the impact of women empowerment and proactive economic engagement on the global economic growth and social development. You have the floor. You should unmute your mic, please.
Oh, sorry. No, it seems okay. Do you hear me? Okay. It's my great pleasure to be there on behalf of the CEDAW committee. And I congratulate you really because the presentations are absolutely exemplary. And I must say that I'm very impressed by OIC and WDO for this, not only for this initiative, but for the ambition for women. Because lesson learned from the pandemic crisis shows that we need to accelerate the empowerment of women in order to ensure a sustainable growth. Do you hear me? Because I'm not sure. Yes, it's okay?
Yes.
Okay. And we are totally convinced within the CEDAW committee that women are still the first victims of violences or sufferings in the world. But in the meantime, they are the main forces for peace, sustainable development, and also a new form of organization of our societies. And you are absolutely right when you push this ambition focused on economic empowerment, because it's probably one of the major factors for a new growth and a better place for women in this matter. The CEDAW committee is totally committed on this issue at different levels. First of all, we consider that we need, and Fatima said it very well, a global approach. The priority is to eradicate all forms of discrimination and obstacles, including cultural or obstacles or stereotypes that hinder the empowerment of women. We have to consider education. We have to consider the access to different rights as healthcare or, of course, the capacity to choose and to decide about the life, their own lives. And we are very, very attached to this global approach, rights and development, because there is a strong link. Then we are also very, very focused on partnerships. We consider that state parties have the first responsibility to act, but they have to take into account the support and the initiative of private sector and of course of civil society, because we have to be really open to a sort of new mobilization. Once again, if we want to implement the Vision 2030 and to change the paradigm by integrating women at the right place in the development, we need to create a sort of new impetus. And we encourage really this sort of new, how can I say that, sort of surge, if I can say, use this term. And third, we consider that access of women to the decision-making process is one also of the guarantees of the success of this strategy, because empowerment of women needs to be translated at all levels of organizations. And if I take, for instance, microcredit, microfinances, and I want to pay tribute to the initiative of OIC in this field. I know the excellent results on the field, and we have to imagine to expand this sort of initiative, because it's very concretely a success. And we see that how women can start a small business and that positively influences their decision-making capacity, and that enhances their status. I think that it's very important to create this link, and we can also promote a better representation of women in the financial institutions, as well as at all levels of responsibilities in the private sector. It's a very important point. And I would like also to insist upon the possibility and the capacity of women to choose professional sectors, including ITCs. We have a serious concern with the risk of imbalance in digital area. We see that the algorithms bias are more and more important in our lives, and it's time to try to create an inclusive intelligence artificial world. And this approach can be for you a priority because you are in advance in a lot of sectors in this area. And I think that we can imagine to have new initiatives. Inclusivity is for the CEDAW committee a major preoccupation. We consider that no one has to be behind. And in the Vision 2030, it's one, as you know, of the priorities. And we are very concerned in this committee with the risk for vulnerable groups to stay out of this development. So from the start of our initiatives, we have to include and to be very aware of the situation of more vulnerable people. If I can resume, I would like to say that we need to have more and more a global approach, linking rights and development. We have to be innovative in our view, and from the informal sector to the ITC area, and we have to be mobilized and to integrate more and more all the stakeholders. And personally, I would like to say that the CEDAW committee is ready to work with you directly to reinforce not only your capacities, but you don't need really, but to inspire your view and your strategy in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think you did all the job. You even gave the summary, so I will not go back to it. But what we retain is that women's empowerment is not an option, it's an obligation, and we need global partnership for that. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that. So I am going to give the floor now to Mr. Armand Khoshmannov, who will talk to us about ICD's experience in women entrepreneurship and empowerment. You have the floor.
Good afternoon and good morning up to the daytime at your region. And first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the given opportunity by ICCIA at this platform to speak out of our experience. So as we mentioned, we would like present actually the case study for the empowerment of the small and medium enterprises in the fragile settings, and particularly to shift to the gender lens, how we deal with the women entrepreneurship in the kind of very highly volatile and fragile settings, even in the condition of ongoing armed conflict. So please, could you confirm that you can see the screen? Everything is going well?
Yes, it's okay.
So first of all, shortly about us, we are the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector. This is the arm of Islamic Development Bank for the private sector operations. And today we're going to discuss our program called Business Resilience Assistance for Value-Adding Enterprises, or shortly abbreviated as BRAVE. And following the table of the content, as we mentioned, our program is targeting mainly fragile settings and conflict-affected areas. And we want to speak a bit about fragility and the impact of the ongoing conflict to the private sector in the countries. Then how BRAVE came up as one of the potential responses to the fragility issues and as one of the potential initiatives in the peace building process economic programs. We will discuss shortly about our achievements and the lessons learned and how BRAVE expanded with focus on the gender dimension. And we'll try to show short stories of our beneficiaries. So first of all, as you know, the OIC basically, unfortunately, the reality is that out of 57 member countries of OIC, 29 have been defined as being fragile according to the developed index. So we are focusing here out of the three main SDGs, number 9, basically that the most fragile context are SME economies and local firms. Usually they continue operations even if there is ongoing conflict, while the big companies, usually they are shutting down and reallocate their assets out of the countries. Regarding decent work and economic growth, we are saying that even in the condition of ongoing conflicts, usually SMEs keep providing high growth rates and jobs for a significant part of the population. And regarding the peace, justice, and strong institutions, we are arguing that private sector development is actually contribute significantly to the building of the peace through restoring the trust among the environment settings. And this is also one of the lessons learned over our BRAVE initiatives. So let me just take you to the case study of Yemen, which is one of the, let's say, unfortunately, best examples to show the humanitarian crisis appearing on the earth. So before the intervention to the Yemen with the local partners, there was some assessment of the environmental issues regarding the impact of ongoing war to the businesses. So armed conflict affected import activities. It affected the public electricity, oil derivatives. There was absence of security and stability. All these factors contributed to the reducing and shortage of access to finance. So saying that 73% on the ground businesses, they cut their basically access to the ongoing finances and line of finances as well. The blockade on the business supplies happened, existing assets were damaged, and the number of clients among the corporates dropped up to 93%, and among the SMEs dropped significantly up to 79%, which led to the over 62% of SMEs to shut down their enterprises. Also, 53% of private sector activities was reduced. Of course, it all brought to the drop in the economic activity of the countries. 55% of existing jobs was simply destroyed, and staff was laid off. And those who preserved their jobs, they lost a lot in terms of their incomes, and enterprises had to reduce their wages. So in these conditions, our organization basically was in the process of thinking, and a lot of have been told by the previous speakers regarding the empowerment of the small and medium enterprises. And the main areas that have been identified is lack of the competencies among the SMEs, lack of access to the finance, and lack of access to the markets. Saying so, the following theory of change have been developed as the response to the ongoing conflict and fragility through provisioning special design continuity, special business continuity trainings to the SMEs and lead firms, provisioning matching grants as access to the finance, and supporting value chain leaders, basically it's lead anchor firms in the industry or value chains, as well as the business associations. Through that, we had an assumption that SMEs will keep ongoing and survive in the ongoing fragility settings. And with time, they will increase their performance and increase the number of their linkages, by creating new business opportunities, which overall will impact to creation of the new jobs, improve quality of existing jobs, increase access to the finance from the local financial institutions, and overall it should bring us to the increased standards of living of local communities. Basically, we can speak about very basic needs such as access to the health and education. So the BRAVE project that have been financed by Middle East and Northern Africa Transition Fund back to 2016 have been implemented during 3 years, starting its design in 2015, and its completion happened in 2020, with the funds provided from 6 with constant increase up to 9 million, consisted of 5 main components. So first of all, it was business resilience capacity building trainings. The second component was business recovery support. The third is value chain resilience through supporting lead firms and business associations. And the fourth is IT platform. So basically, we, in the partnership with the local partner, developed client relationship management platform, which led us to second wave of the dashboard formation that provisioned a very transparent way of dissemination of the information over the project realization among all the related stakeholders and project management unit. As the result of this intervention, we noticed, and this can be justified by the condition of the country, that the main demand for came from the healthcare sector, and a lot of healthcare sector were represented by the ladies. Also, we can speak about education as the secondly demanded sector in the country. Also, agriculture, fishing, and food processing and clothing, as in the context we can say about the food security of the enterprises. So 620 enterprises was supported, 284 SMEs and 51 lead firms were provisioned with the matching grants. Overall, 6.3 million investment was provided to the country, and the SMEs responded by condition 6 million, with topping it up upon restoring the trust between the main ecosystem stakeholders. Another 7 million overall impacted to almost 22 million investment to the local economy, and almost 2,500 jobs have been created as a result of this intervention. And on this stage, if you allow me to demonstrate short video of one of our ladies in Yemen who participate for our project. And please let me know if sound is not coming.
استلمت المركز في بداية تأسيسه، عملنا بجد بحيث انه يكون المركز هذا عند المستوى، لانه شريحة مهمة جدا الاهتمام فيها مش بالشكل المطلوب. كان عندنا كادر هندي متميز سواء كان في الاطراف الصناعية او كان في العلاج الطبيعي. كمركز خاص في اليمن يعتبر المركز الاول من نوعه في هذا المجال. بعد اندلاع الحرب 2015 سببت اسحاب الكادر الهندي. واجهنا صعوبات من المخرجات العلاج الطبيعي، وكذلك المخرجات من الأطراف الصناعية غير متوفرة، وإن توفرت فهي شحيحة في العلاج الطبيعي. أما الأطراف الصناعية فلا يوجد في اليمن جهة أو جامعة أو معهد يدرب للأطراف الصناعية أو يدرس الأطراف الصناعية وليس التعويضية. توقفنا 4 أشهر، وبعدين لاحظنا أنه في 2015-2016 في حالات توفت في بيتها، خاصة الأطفال. صممنا قلنا طالما انه حطينا حجر الاساس في مركز بايموف، اذا لابد ان يفتح ابوابه. استمرينا الى اليوم رغم الصعوبات، في حين بحثنا عن دعم. القطاع الخاص مهمل، القطاع الخاص لا يجد من يدعمه. عن طريق صديق بلغني انه في مشروع بريف وبيدعموا القطاع الخاص وليش ما تقدموا فيه وكذا، فقلت اجرب ليش لا. احنا استغربنا اولا انه بريف بتجيب دعم للبرايفت، يعني في القطاع الخاص. دخلت على الموقع وسجلت تمت، يعني ما شاء الله. كانت نقطة انطلاقة لبدء تنفيذ الخطة الاستراتيجية لمركز بايوموف، وهي عملية التوسع وعملية توفير أحدث الأجهزة في مجال العلاج الطبيعي وفي مجال الأطراف الصناعية. وصلنا لمرحلة قلنا خلاص يعني وين نروح؟ كيف نتوسع؟ إيش نسوي؟ بريف جاءت زي الأمل جاءت تدفع، لا احنا موجودين، احنا يدكم يدنا بيدكم، انتم ابدأوا أول خطوة. وفعلا هذا الذي بدأنا فيه. بدأنا أول خطوة وهي عملية البحث عن المشاريع الأولويات حقنا التي كنا حاطين لها في التخطيط الاستراتيجي لبايوموف، واخترنا الأهم منها والأقرب والذي أقل مخاطرة. كان هناك ضغوط كثيرة علينا، حيث أن حالات كثيرة كانت تأتي من محافظات خارج صنعاء، يعني تبحث عن السكن أولا، تبحث على مصاريف الإقامة في صنعاء عشان خدمة العلاج الطبيعي بتستمر أسبوع أسبوعين أو شهر أو شهرين أو أكثر، أو ممكن تركيب طرف صناعي ويحتاج إلى فترة أيضا عملية التدريب فيما بعدها. فلاحظنا أن أغلب الحالات تأتي من مناطق بعيدة. لاحظنا أنه محافظة إب هي المكان المناسب والمتوسط الذي ممكن يجمع لي حالات تكون قريبة، سواء كان من تعز، من الحديدة، من البيضاء، من رداع، من عدة مناطق. عملنا بريف بمبلغ معين ودخلنا فيها ب50%. في وضع البلاد فيه بهذه الطريقة ما كانش يعني يشجعنا ان احنا نستثمر في مكان اخر او ان احنا نفتح فرع اخر وبهذا المستوى، لولا ان الدفعة او التشجيع جاء من بريف. اولا احنا رؤيتنا في بايوموف ان احنا بنوصل لبيت كل معاق في اليمن.
اذكر ان رجعت حالة طرف صناعي، بدأنا اعطيناه فيديوهات، كان يسأل السؤال: انا فعلا بقدر امشي مرة ثانية؟ بقدر اتخلى عن العكازات؟ فلما فعلا له الطرف الصناعي وبدأ يتدرب عليها وبدأ يمشي عليها، لو تشوفه تبكي من الفرح اللي كان هو فرحان، لانه فعلا حس انه رجع للحياة.
نطالب فتح الدعم من قبل المنظمات، من قبل الحكومة، من عدة جهات. ادعموا القطاع الخاص. القطاع الخاص رديف للقطاع الحكومي. عندما يتوفر أكثر من مركز في عدة أماكن، مثلا في مجال العلاج الطبيعي أو الأطراف الصناعية، فبالتالي لاحظ أنه سوف يعمل عملية توظيف كوادر كثيرة. لذلك نأمل إن شاء الله بإذن الله أن تكون في منح تستوعب متطلبات المشاريع، متطلبات الشركات. Biomove is considered as a brave. Biomove هو brave.
Yes, so as you can see, it is one of our beneficiaries, and actually dealing in the fragile settings. It's very symbolic of this video because restoring the faith, restoring the trust, restoring the entrepreneurship and SMEs in the basically broken settings. It's like teaching this boy again to walk again, basically. So when we completed this project, basically one of the criticism that we received, that unfortunately we couldn't reach one of our KPIs, basically it's women entrepreneurs outreach. And we will speak about it after this slide. But before we go further, I just wanted to discuss and bring more knowledge about concrete case or lessons learned in supporting private sector initiatives in the fragile settings. So first of all, the interventions and projects in such kind of environment requires good time and patience, because resilience capacity building takes quite a sustained period. Also, what is important is having proper stakeholders in the project design, because it's a fundamental way to ensure that they buy in and they commit to its implementation. Also, it's very important to have good capacity of the local implementation agency, because as a necessity for the project implementation success. For those agencies or NGOs or any development institutions, it's very important to be flexible in their program design, management, and implementation. In terms of the access to the finance, one of the recommendations that we received also from the independent evaluator that in fragile settings, financial support should come in form of grants or first loss capital, because the environment is not ready to respond to the classical line of finances, because simply there is no kind of proper trust between banking and private sectors. And BRAVE itself incorporates a set of good practices that can be replicated in other countries apart from the Yemen. And moving forward, after the completion of this project, there was another opportunity. So the new platform called Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative, or namely WIFI, that have been basically created by the G20 leaders in Hamburg in August 2017 and hosted by World Bank, which main objective was enhancement of women entrepreneurship in developing countries through increased access to finance, markets, technologies, and networks. And especially strong emphasis on these themes were given to the entrepreneurship and private sector development and gender. Initial commitment of the funds was amounted as 340 million over the donor commitments, with the ambitious plan to raise funds over the $1 billion. And out of these funds, IDB had won over its Brave Women program proposal 32 million to implement multi-country BRAVE projects in Yemen, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso. So overall, Brave Women program project development program development objective is enhancement of resilience of women-owned and lead SMEs in fragile contexts with potential for scaling up and replication. And the aim of the program is to reach up 1,500 women SMEs with specialized trainings for at least 1,200 women to qualify for combined grant matching support and technical assistance. And currently, as you can see from this graph, we almost completed our project in Yemen. We are at the mid-level of our project in Nigeria, and we are at the start for women entrepreneurs support project in Burkina Faso. And out of these, let's say, goals, already 960 firms were supported in Yemen alone. Recently, we hit 600 women SMEs supported in Nigeria over the specialized trainings, who are currently waiting for the financial support for the over the matching grants, and currently overall over $4 million additional investment have been raised and mobilized by private sector themselves. Currently, Brave Women having 8 partner institutions among these 3 countries. And recently, as we said, that Brave Women responded by with the focus, let's say, with a high demand for the social sectors such as healthcare and education, and also in the food security, namely for agriculture and food processing. This video we issued just recently, and it was prior to the day of the International Day of the Knowledge of 1st September, that have been presented to the Governing Committee of WIFI over the annual report. And it's quite shorter. If you allow me to play one more video for yourself.
كانت تفتقر طبعا الكثير من الاساسيات، باعتبار المدرسه خاصه المفروض انه توفر فيها معمل حاسوب، معمل علوم، العاب ترفيهيه. فكان في عندنا مسألتين يعني معيقات لنا ان احنا نعملها للتجهيزات. اول شيء مساحه المبنى كان غير كافي، اضافه الى ذلك كان قله الايرادات. فكان تدخل سمارتس يعني جاب لنا دفعه حلوه، قدرت اني اشتري معمل حاسوب ومعمل علوم وكمان العاب ترفيهيه، وفوق هذا بالمبلغ البسيط اللي كان معي كمان قدرت اني اشتري طابعات واوفر طابعات في المدرسه. فكنت احتاج الى 3 سنوات علشان اوفر ما وفرته لي سبيرس في خلال 3 أشهر. كانت فكرتنا بسيطة، احنا كنا نشتي نعمل فرع بسيط جنب المدرسة بحيث انه ما تنتقلش المدرسة بشكل كلي، لكن سمارتس وسعت لي الافق انه لا، المفروض انه ما تجلس في نفس المكان اللي فيه اساسا خطر،
المفروض إنه تبحثي عن مكان أكثر أمان.
احنا في مشروع بريف ما كانش اعتمادنا على تقديم الدعم المالي فقط، ركزنا ايضا تركيز كبير على تقديم الدعم الفني، والدعم الفني هو متمثل في تقديم استشارات لتطوير بناء قدرات سيدة الاعمال، بناء قدرات المنشاه نفسها كبناء مؤسسي المنشاه.
كان في معنا تدريب جميل جدا وحاجه اسمها اداره المخاطر وخطه استمراريه، كيف نحن نحافظ على مؤسستنا انها تستمر سنه وسنتين و10 سنوات. فهذا كمان كان من الاشياء الجميله والفنيه اللي احنا تلقيناها في التدريب مع سمبس. في عده امور تغيرت، عدد الطلاب زاد الى الضعف، الموظفين عددهم زاد، وفرنا فرص عمل اكبر واكثر. الان اضفنا الى 16.30 فصل اضافي.
الذي خلتنا نحب المدرسة من ناحية أنه تعامل المدرسين وجودة التعليم أيضا والانضباطات والأشياء الإيجابية الحلوة اللي في المدرسة.
استقرار كبير بحكم الحاجات المتوفرة لدى المدرسة والإقبال الكبير والهائل للطلاب في المدرسة نفسها. يعني الحمد لله الإدارة موفرة كل شيء تطلبه المعلمات من الناحية التعليمية كوسائل وحاجات غيره، وكمان الدخل لكل معلمة رائع جدا، وكلنا يعني راضيات عن الدخل اللي جاي لنا هو الإدارة. ما تتقاعدوش لآخر لحظة، إنه في حد ممكن يساعدك وبالتالي هو يساعد اقتصاد بلدك إنه يرتفع لفوق. استمر بالعمل يمكن. زراعة الأمل الخير موجود، الأمل موجود، الخير في الناس والناس للناس موجود. يعني ما كنتش أتوقع نهائيا إن في شيء جميل حجم سمبس.
Yes, in continuation to this story, let me just wrap it up. Basically, with the last slide regarding the potential interest to the BRAVE program, replication in the fragile settings, we as an IBES division identified the list of member countries in the fragile settings by the priority being 22 potential regions, and we would be happy to investigate more potential areas for the potential partnership with the WDO and with the ICCIA as a communication platform, and as well as the Chamber of Commerce in Indonesia, potentially to see how we can add value for their activities in their regions. So first of all, what is important that to replicate the BRAVE, it's required to have joint initiative between Islamic Development Bank and ICT itself, with involvement of national governments as a stakeholder. We, as an IBES or ICT technical team, will provide in this arrangement services over the know-how and knowledge transfer and the project implementation, starting from the project concept development and project implementation. Financially speaking, as we mentioned before, that this kind of project requires potential donors with the ticket size at least being 10 million per the country. So at this stage, let me finish, because I believe I took quite a good time, but I hope it was useful for all the participants.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this comprehensive presentation, which actually shows us that despite the volatile economic, health and sociopolitical environments, SMEs could still, be resilient if all the stakeholders come together and support like business recovery programs, capacity building, and also training on new business ventures. Thank you. So I will now give the floor to Dr. Noura Abdelwahab, who is the lead gender advisor for the Middle East and North Africa Regional Innovation Hub. And she will talk to us about the programs of MENA Regional Innovation Hub that aim to support women entrepreneurs and promote gender integration and women empowerment across the MENA region. Thank Thank you. You have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Ahmado. I'll share my screen. Is it clear to you? Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Water Energy for Food, the Regional Innovation Hub, which is a project that is a joint international initiative of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and the European Union, the Foreign Ministry of the Netherlands, SIDA, and USAID. The mandate of the Water Energy for Food Regional Innovation Hubs, this is global hubs. There are like 5 hubs worldwide, and I'm the gender advisor for MENA Regional Innovation Hub. Basically, we identify innovators like companies that have innovative ideas on water or energy efficiency for food production, and we provide the cash grants, technical assistance, brokering unit in terms of investment readiness, support for end user financing, and also providing an enabling environment in where we address the challenges facing innovators, companies, and we focus on problems facing women-led or women-owned SMEs. And we use a gender transformative approach to implement this. And what is gender transformative approaches? Gender transformative approaches are defined as ways to address the foundations of gender inequality and unequal power, with a focus on transforming gender relations to be more equitable. So the implementation of gender transformative approaches are done by using participatory strategies in capacity strengthening and organizational learning. And we tackle 3 main categories in the project. The first category is women-led business, who are like women founders, business women, and board members. The second category is women laborers, who are women who work in farms, pack houses, or factories. The third category is women end users, who are like women end users who buy the final product or benefit from the provided service or product within the supply chain. For the first category, women-led business and founders in MENA countries, and why we focus and we tackle this specific category, because only 5% of CEOs leading companies are women. They face a number of challenges, including access to credit, non-financial services, stereotyping, ownership of assets, access to information and markets. And also in 2019, women in senior management totaled 29%. And they face a number of challenges, including family responsibilities and childcare, social networks, access to social networks. And for the second category, women laborers in MENA countries, we focus on this specific category because women comprise 43% of the agricultural labor force in developing countries. However, they face a number of challenges, including lack of skills and capabilities, stereotyping, lower pay, high turnover, access to information and markets. And moreover, women tend to be concentrated in certain phases or activities at the lower end of the agribusiness supply chain. And they face challenges, namely in family responsibilities and childcare and harassment. The third category that we focus on are like women end users. And we focus on this specific category because women are underserved customers. However, women constitute 25 to 50% of the current customer base, and they face challenges in terms of like lack of education, limited contribution to purchasing decisions, lack of awareness on agriculture-related technologies and innovations. Although women customers represent more than 75% of the company's revenues, nevertheless, they face challenges in terms of social stigma associated with participation in social groups, access to direct communication with women. And thus, we have adopted gender transformative approaches in water energy for food through various a holistic approach. The first one is like in the applications where at least 30% of applicants are women-led businesses or have women as board members. We have included the specific questions that tackle gender in the full application proposal. And also we have an advisory committee that reviews and screens applicants, whether concept notes or full applications. They have members. There are like presence of internal and external gender experts for the evaluation of full applications and full applicants interviews. We also have provided in the TA that's provided, the gender advisor scopes all technical assistance terms of reference, and we provide also gender specific TAs that tackles the three categories of women, the challenges facing these women, whether women-led business and founders or women customers or women laborers. We provide support as well with the innovative end user financing for these innovations that meets the needs of women. And also we provide ESG clinics that are like, in these ESG clinics, we provide gender awareness sessions for all onboarded innovators. We conduct this periodically, so in order to strengthen the awareness and knowledge of the innovators about the importance of gender mainstreaming, and this would also enable them to get the needed knowledge, and if possible to request specific gender specific TAs from the hub. This is in a nutshell the interventions, the gender transformative interventions for water energy for food project. Thank you. And over to you, Ms. Ahmed.
Thank you, Doctor, for your very comprehensive presentation. And I will just say one thing, that your presentation highlights the importance of disaggregating the different categories of women to be able to help them, or to be able to help develop better solutions that will suit and be adaptable to each category of the women. Thank you so much. So now I will give the floor to our last speaker, who is Ms. Rania Aiman, and she will tell us the story behind Entrepreneur Egypt. Thank you. You have the floor. Please, your screen is still on. Could you please? Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Rania Aiman, is she on board? No? Okay, sorry. I think she had an urgent issue. It's okay. So I think we will go back to our first speaker. Due to time constraint, I think we will just have 3 minutes for each speaker now. So our first speaker, Excellency, Ms. Shinta, you will talk to us about your second question, please, which is how did the COVID-19 pandemic affect the business decisions and women's presence in the Indonesian economic field? You have the floor, please. 3 minutes, please.
Yes, I think even though our fight for COVID-19 pandemic has not yet finished, I think the focus on respect and opportunities for women remains strikingly relevant as solution to recover together stronger to pass this pandemic. I think the gender participation gap narrowed in the last decade, but is now widening due to COVID-19. It will now take 135 years to reach gender parity. 47.6% of employment losses, where women accounted for 38.9% of total employment before the COVID, but make up 47.6% of employment losses in 2020. 23% of women leaving the workforce, 25.4% women less likely to be employed. Despite the job growth in 2021, women are 25.4% less likely to be in employment than men. The bulk of unpaid domestic and care work has landed on women, squeezing them out of labor force. There is much lower investment in women-led business, and I want to underline this. Venture capital funding from women-led startup facing a substantial drop from 2.8% of funding went to 2.3% of funding channeled in 2020. As a result, female-owned businesses 6% more likely to close than male-owned businesses. And lastly, gender-based violence worsened by the pandemic. 1 in 7 women experience sexual harassment on the job, at least sometimes. Also, further gender-based violence has worsened during the pandemic. Now, in Indonesia, the gender inequality situation, even after the pandemic, do reflect the global situation. According to the UN Women, I think women in Indonesia depend largely on income from family businesses, but COVID-19 has shrunk it for 82% of income of women compared to men. COVID-19 also increased the unpaid care and domestic workload pressure, where women are paying the price. Women are only able to work productively for 4 to 6 hours, while men have the privilege to focus on advancing their career. I think this unbalanced pressure and productivity between gender roles will increasingly threaten more female workers to be dismissed or even demoted. And finally, it should be noted that also the research by ILO in 2020, the ratio of Indonesian male and female wages is always less than 100 at every level of education. Even the data state that female workers with a higher education degree earn 30 to 40% less than male workers. So in highly paid managerial and supervisory jobs, women earn only a quarter less than men. So this is what happened now with COVID. Of course, we are regressing, but there's a lot of now we need to recover. We need to put all our effort together. We need to collaborate in how to ensure that we can come back again and advance some of these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And actually, it just shows us how the COVID pandemic has worsened the situation of women around the world, and it has further widened the gender gap that previously existed, and we need more innovative efforts to change this. So thank you. I will give the floor to Councillor, who will brief us on the role of international NGOs and civil society organizations in improving women's working conditions and supporting financial inclusion. Madam Councillor, you have 3 minutes, please. You are muted. You are muted. Please unmute your mic.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rabiatu, and I will try to stick to the 3 minutes. But before starting, I just want to praise all the presentations which were before me, because they were really informative and very important for the work of WGO, and we look forward to more cooperation with you on the ground, not only with workshops. So regarding to answer your question, Objective 10 of the objectives of WGO in its statute is calling WGO to establish an information network that will enable member states to identify experiences and practices regarding women, including through the cooperation with civil society. Consequently, WDO initiated the process last August to formulate a network of civil society from our member states in order to establish a civil society forum. And the idea is to have the meetings for this forum every year. Why? Because we noticed that these organizations have been using a diversity of strategies to encourage women empowerment, specifically women economic empowerment. And this has been done through the following. So first of all, regarding international non-governmental organizations, we found out that they are bringing women issues to the table of the global policy discourse by advocating with governments and the private sector to take policy and institutional reforms in favor of women advancement in all its forms. They also are carrying out organizational capacity building for local CSOs to enable them put in place creative and effective projects that can also enhance and make a difference in the lives of women and girls they serve and their communities at large. They are acting also as knowledge transfer channels from local to global levels and vice versa, in order to build the resilience of the CSOs and communities in promoting gender equality initiatives. They are also facilitating access to global resources like knowledge, skills, networks, partnerships, financial resources, funding, etc. For CSOs working on women's issues for gender equality and related activities. But colleagues, we should not forget the role, the very important and pivotal role played by local CSOs as well. Today, several CSOs are taking part in microfinance development initiatives and are using microfinance as an instrument to empower the rural women, the rural poor women specifically. Local NGOs and CSOs are helping to extend a broad range of financial services, such as microcredit resources, savings, insurance, remittances, and also non-financial services like financial literacy trainings, counseling to unbanked sections of the population, especially women, as you know. CSOs are promoting also, the local CSOs are promoting and facilitating the creation of women's self-help groups. These self-help groups play an extremely fundamental role in women empowerment by providing basic education, vocational training, training of self-employment, job placements, legal aid, safety nets for women, and self-awareness programs on a regular basis. Also, local CSOs play a role of activism and advocacy by taking strong strands on certain issues to meet the needs, the demands, and bring compulsory changes in the field of women empowerment. Also, finally, local CSOs have promoted the growth of women as confident individuals with self-identity. They have groomed small and medium enterprises run by women to projects to become big businesses with a lot of economic returns. And I think what I have already mentioned before by the previous speakers, and in numbers and in details. So thank you very much, Rabiat.
Thank you very much, Madam Councillor. Thank you. So I will not waste further time. I will give back the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Nicole Ameline, who will tell us the magical formula that international organizations can actually use to eliminate gender inequality in all aspects of the society. Your Excellency, you have the floor. Is Her Excellency Ms. Nicole Ameling still with us? Is Her Excellency still on board?
No, I don't.
Okay, okay. So I think I will just give the floor next to Mr. Armand, who will talk to us about the barriers that face women entrepreneurs in starting and growing their micro enterprises. 3 minutes, please. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. So let me just talk briefly about the particular barriers that ladies are facing during the support. So the one of the biggest barriers that we were seeing, apart from what we have discussed, such as the lack of the competencies that should be overcome over the specialized trainings that have been discussed a lot today, it's provisioning access to the finance and access to the markets. Also, what is important is enablement of the business environment and maybe some legislative frameworks. From the practical sense, we can see that specific women entrepreneurship problems are focused on first of all on their formal statuses. So there are a lot of informal sectors for the women enterprises, and usually it's very important that over kind of let's say brave or other kind of interventions to design some soft and gentle intervention or project that motivate our ladies to formalize their businesses. And in this sense, it's very important to have a local champion who would facilitate these processes among the women enterprises, the national or regional chamber of commerces, as well as with the government and tax authorities. Usually this should come in the complex, otherwise one phase approach will not work and will not succeed because we are seeing it as the complex issue. This is point number one. The point number two that we wanted to voice out also, it's specific settings or traditional barriers for the women enterprises perception. So first of all, in our project, when we were providing financing to our ladies, usually they were approaching suppliers who denied signing the contracts with the ladies, saying we are dealing with the men, so we are not dealing with the women. Please ask your husband to come and visit us. So in this sense, some kind of environmental education is also important, as well as taking into account that let's say special facilities, and what have been discussed today is enabling of the e-commerce or another IT solutions to be as a basically barrier reductions in the ground. So in another sense, it is important also to maybe focus on this area in terms of the IT enablement and let's say online operations. So this is what we faced during the COVID. So all the operations and the field visits were not impossible, and we shifted to the online work, including the financial institution and suppliers. So this is the point number two. And in point number three, as we said, it's very important to have local champions who would raise the flag of women empowerment with the proper linkage among the business environment key stakeholders, as we mentioned before, in face of the chamber of commerces, government, tax authorities, women advocates, and some maybe promotional NGOs. So I could list these three, and I think I took too much time on my first part, and let me stop here.
Okay. Thank you for the very brief presentation, and I think the barriers you just outlined are cross-cutting across the OIC regions, especially the issue of financial inclusion and also socio-cultural barriers that hinder women from fully participating in businesses and entrepreneurship. So thank you. I will give back the floor to Dr. Noura, who will now tell us about how to enable women entrepreneurs to expand their small and medium-sized enterprises beyond their countries or beyond borders. Thank you. You have the floor, Dr. Noura.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ahmado. There are a number of successful examples of for projects that support women entrepreneurs to expand beyond their countries and export. I would like to give today an example for a project in Egypt, for a prominent project in Egypt, which is called Egypt Trade Project. It also adopts gender transformative approaches to support women entrepreneurs to expert through adopting a holistic approach that focuses for interventions at the meso, macro, and micro level. For the macro level, it focuses on obstacles facing women entrepreneurs through consultations with business women, and that are followed by high-level public-private policy dialogues to convey these obstacles to policymakers and work on resolving it. At the meso level, for expert institutions, the project provides support to business women associations, namely, for example, Business Women Egypt 21, Business Women Association Egypt 21, where the project partnered with Business Women Egypt 21 to conduct a number of interventions, including a mobile app. And I would like to, because this was like the digital barriers was highlighted several times today in previous presentations, and this mobile app would provide a whitelist for service providers that would help women entrepreneurs to access these service providers, because namely women entrepreneurs face difficulties in access to information and access to knowledge. So this would overcome this very specific challenge for women entrepreneurs. And at the micro level, the project provides technical assistance to women-led SMEs and women-owned SMEs. And the cost sharing for the project is much higher if it is like women-owned or women-led SMEs, as a support for women entrepreneurs to expert. They provide them with the support to participate in trade fairs, in having some sort of the service of expert facilitators that would help them to access third countries' markets, and also to know the specifications and work on addressing these issues. This is in a nutshell a very prominent example, and it was really a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you, and over to you, Ms. Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Noura. Thank you so much for talking about, again, the holistic approach of interventions that is needed to push forward female entrepreneurship. So I think we have come to the end of our webinar, and I will just use 2 minutes to conclude. I would say it was a very enriching session with people from different sectors, the private, the public, intergovernmental sector, so which we had a lot of ideas. And I think the platform is serving its purpose because it's a platform for sharing, connecting, networking, and sharing of experiences. And I just wish to say that I hope this is just the beginning, and we will see more partnerships, bilateral partnerships created after this webinar, and I think the different presentations will be shared with the different participants. So I would say thank you once again. It was a pleasure having you on board.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.